The internet on fire on Fearless, okay? We have got to get into what he had to say, man. He blasted the Indiana Fever for the mishandling of Caitlin Clark, and he believes she needs to demand a trade and get up out of there, man. We got to get into it.
Well, that's what I'm hearing, from all the contacts we have around the basketball world. You hear that, and you watch the Fever play. I watch every game. I've watched every game of Caitlin since she was a sophomore at Iowa. So I've known about her for a long time, been a big fan of hers, probably the biggest fan of hers outside of her family, because I love the way she played the game. And from watching the Fever.
The ultimatum was issued live on air, and the shockwaves are still rattling the entire WNBA. Jason Whitlock didn't just suggest a move, he looked into the camera and declared that Caitlin Clark has to woman up and demand a trade right now. This isn't just about a bad season or a slump in shooting. We are talking about a full-scale organizational disaster, where the biggest star in basketball history is being treated like a benchwarmer. Whitlock went nuclear, claiming the Indiana Fever are actively sabotaging their own franchise player. The silence from the front office since this interview dropped has been absolutely deafening, and fans are starting to realize that the dream in Indiana has officially turned into a nightmare.
Go and get Michael Thompson right in the midst of this. This is a good get.
Superstar, and they seem to have adopted a system that doesn't work for Caitlin Clark.
Never seen this in any sport. It'd be like taking the serve away from Serena Williams. The coach telling her, no, I don't like that big serve you have. So let's have a more traditional serve, one that's not as hard and can't. It's like taking the bat out of Ohtani's hands and turning him to a single sitter. It's like taking the second best lineman in the history of football next to Ball State's Jason Whitlock's, the late great Larry Allen from the Cowboys, and turning him into a long snapper.
NBA legend Michael Thompson joined the conversation to drop some serious truth bombs that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. He has been watching Caitlin since her sophomore year at Iowa, and he says the player we are seeing now is a ghost of her former self. Thompson pointed out that the Fever seem to hate the very thing that made the world fall in love with her. They have stripped away her daring, her bravado, and those signature logo threes that broke the internet every single week. Instead of building a system around the most explosive scorer we have ever seen, they are trying to force her into being a pedestrian, traditional point guard. It is like watching a Ferrari being forced to drive in a school zone.
Exactly. Like this don't make no sense. This don't make no sense what the Indiana Fever are doing. That's why I don't think it's that much of malpractice. I think it is intentional sabotage.
They've taken away Caitlin's superpowers. And when you draft a player like Caitlin, like a Steph Curry, a Magic, an Isaiah Thomas, of course, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, when you have a player of that caliber, of a Wemby, you play to their strengths and you build around a franchise player such as that. And
that's all we've been saying is the Indiana Fever need to build around Caitlin Clark. That's all we've been saying, but they've been doing the complete opposite.
It seems like they bought the franchise player.
The comparison Thompson used was absolutely brutal, and it perfectly illustrates the level of malpractice that's happening in Indiana. He said what the Fever are doing to Caitlin is exactly like taking the serve away from Serena Williams, or telling Shohei Ohtani he is only allowed to hit singles. Imagine a coach looking at the greatest weapons in sports history and deciding they just do not like them. That is the reality for Clark right now. Whitlock took it a step further, calling it intentional sabotage rather than just a coaching mistake. You do not draft a generational talent like Steph Curry or Magic Johnson and then tell them to walk the ball up the floor. You play to their strengths, but Indiana is doing the opposite.
Bruh, Stephanie White had a damn job already. She found some family excuse to get out of the Connecticut job. Then boom, all of a sudden she comes flying from the ceiling like Sting, and she's the head coach of the Indiana Fever. She's a plant, bro. She's a plant. This was set up.
We want to play more traditional style, more of the Indiana Hoosier style, or the Hoosier style from the movie, and instead of playing the wide open Golden State style with Steph Curry. And that just baffles me, because not only did they show that they could win with that style, but it was very appealing to everybody. That's why all of a sudden the ratings went up, TV money came in because of what Caitlin Clark bought to.
The arrival of Stephanie White was supposed to be a homecoming, but Whitlock and Thompson are calling it something much more sinister. They described her as a plant who swooped in to take over the team under suspicious circumstances. The theory is that White was brought in specifically to dismantle the high-octane style that Caitlin Clark thrives in. Before White arrived, the Fever actually had a rhythm under Christie's sides during the second half of her rookie year. They were winning games, the ratings were soaring, and Caitlin was playing with total freedom. But the moment the new regime took over, that progress was set on fire. It raises the question of why an organization would purposely walk away from a win.
I believe, and I'm going to argue later in the show, Caitlin Clark has to woman up and demand a trade.
Yep.
No different.
Yep. 1,000% Caitlin Clark has to demand a trade. She has to get the hell out of Indiana, man. It's run like a local corner store. It's run like the mom and pop shop up the street. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to handle a superstar like this. They don't know how to build around a super mega star like this. She is Michael Jackson. She is Michael Jordan. They don't know how to handle it. It's time for you to go somewhere where they can deal with this level of star.
Whitlock pointed out a staggering detail that most people are overlooking regarding the Fever roster. The team is currently loaded with former South Carolina players who played under Dawn Staley. He compared this to the Lakers drafting Magic Johnson and then surrounding him with 4 or 5 players from a rival college system that hated his style of play. It creates an environment where the franchise player is an outsider in her own locker room. Instead of bringing in Iowa teammates like Kate Martin to make Caitlin comfortable, the front office has built a roster that seems designed to clash with her. This lack of professional strategy is exactly why Whitlock believes the only solution left is a total exit strategy.
They don't know how to handle a superstar like this. They don't know how to build around a super mega star like this. She is Michael Jackson. She is Michael Jordan. They don't know how to handle it. It's time for you to go somewhere where they can deal with this level of stardom and build the organization around her.
Than what Magic Johnson had to do and what we've seen many male players, male athletes do over the years. Do you agree? Caitlin Clark needs to ask out.
If not ask out, she needs to go to the coaches or the gym and says, listen, I can't play this style. This isn't my style. I have to be more of a free-flowing type of player.
The conversation then shifted to a potential destination that would save the league's ratings and Caitlin's career. Michael Thompson, who works for the Lakers, admitted that shipping the biggest attraction in basketball to Los Angeles would be the ultimate power move. Historically, the greatest stars like Kareem, Shaq, and LeBron always end up in the bright lights of LA when their original teams fail them. Whitlock argued that the WNBA should follow the NBA's blueprint and get their superstar to a market that actually knows how to handle a mega celebrity. Indiana is being run like a local corner store, and they clearly do not have the infrastructure or the vision to support a talent that is bigger than the league itself.
Run during her rookie season. Kelsey A, Aaliyah A, and they was killing, and they was must-see TV, but it's like Stephanie White has come over here and completely messed up the whole offense, the whole situation for real.
Mike, why not let's just move Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles? That's what's best for the league overall. If the franchise is popping in Los Angeles, the greatest basketball players, the biggest attractions from Wilt to Kareem to Shaq, to LeBron, to Luke, they all end up in Los Angeles. Why shouldn't the WNBA do what the NBA does, ship the big...
One of the most heated parts of the discussion centered on the officiating, and how the league is allowing defenders to take liberties with Clark. Thompson noted that he has never seen a superstar get such a consistently bad whistle. Defenders are grabbing, clutching, and hitting her with no consequences, while the referees look the other way. Whitlock suggested that Caitlin has developed an adversarial relationship with the officiating crews, which is only making things worse. He noted that while other stars like Breanna Stewart can scream at refs without repercussions, Caitlin is penalized for showing even a hint of frustration. It feels like she is being hunted on the court, while her own coach refuses to step in.
Talking about women, and Caitlin Clark fussing at these female refs, and Caitlin Clark fussing at these primarily alternative lifestyle female refs, I think she's picking a fight she can't win. That she has a very bad whistle. Some of the fouls they're calling on her are absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's because she has an adversarial relationship with the officiating crews. And I think this has been going on since high school, certainly since college. And that little word of mouth, I think they're picking on Caitlin Clark.
The coaching staff's refusal to protect their star is perhaps the biggest red flag of all. Whitlock blasted Stephanie White for not taking technical fouls to defend Caitlin from the physical abuse she is taking every night. In any other professional league, a coach would be out on the floor demanding for a player of this caliber. Instead, the Fever coaching staff seems content to let her get beat up while they try to implement a boring half-court system that does not work. This lack of support is why Whitlock is urging Caitlin's father and her agent Aaron Riley to wake up and realize their client is being fumbled. They are watching her value and her joy for the game be drained away by incompetence. Michael Thompson reminisced about the Showtime Lakers and how Magic Johnson had to force a change when he was stuck in a system that did not fit. Magic famously clashed with coach Paul Westhead because he wanted to run, and that conflict eventually led to the Pat Riley era and multiple championships. Whitlock believes Caitlin is in the exact same position right now. She has to be adventurous and aggressive, not walking the ball up the floor in a janky, rinky-dink system. If she does not speak up and demand a change in philosophy or a trade to a team that will let her freelance, she risks becoming just another ordinary player. The world fell in love with a superstar, not a role player. The business side of this fallout is just as confusing as the basketball side. Whitlock theorized that these WNBA franchises might be operated more as tax write-offs than actual businesses. If the Fever were a real business, they would be doing everything possible to keep the fans in the seats and the ratings high. Instead, they are making decisions that make the product unwatchable for the casual fan who tuned in to see the Iowa version of Caitlin Clark. By slowing down the pace and limiting her shots, they are essentially telling their customers they do not care what they want to see. It is a bizarre strategy that defies all logic unless the goal is to intentionally diminish her massive influence. There is also a growing narrative that Caitlin has become unlikable because she complains to the refs, but Thompson was quick to shut that down. He argued that any player getting hacked as much as she is would be frustrated. The problem is that the media is painting her as the villain for reacting to the contact rather than focusing on the players who are playing dirty. Thompson emphasized that freedom of movement is supposed to be a rule, yet it seems to be suspended whenever Caitlin is on the floor. This double standard is clearly wearing her down, and without a supportive organization behind her, she is being left to fight these battles entirely on her own in front of millions of people. Looking at the roster construction, the Fever have brought in players like Monique Billings and Myesha Hines-Allen who are traditional half-court players. This directly conflicts with the fast break style that allows Caitlin to utilize her elite passing and long-range shooting. Thompson insisted that the team actually does have the personnel to run, citing the speed of Kelsey Mitchell and the athleticism of Aaliyah Boston. However, the coaching philosophy is acting as a bottleneck. It is a classic case of a coach trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Stephanie White wants to play the Indiana Hoosier style from a 1950s movie, while Caitlin Clark is built for the modern Golden State Warriors era. The fallout from this situation could change the landscape of the WNBA forever if the most popular player in the league demands a trade. It will be a landmark moment for player empowerment in women's sports. Whitlock is adamant that this needs to happen before the damage to her career becomes permanent. We have seen what happens when great players stay too long in toxic situations, and Caitlin's talent is too rare to be wasted in a system that suppresses her. The Fever had a chance to build a dynasty around a once-in-a-lifetime shooter, but they chose to prioritize a rigid coaching system instead. Now the bill is coming due, and the price might be losing their star for good. What makes this trade talk even more shocking is how quickly the relationship has soured. Just a few months ago, the city of Indianapolis was buzzing with excitement, and now there is a sense of dread every time the team takes the floor. The inconsistency on offense is glaring, and the players look visibly frustrated with the lack of flow. Whitlock pointed out that when Caitlin is allowed to freelance and play with her natural instinct, everyone on the team benefits. Kelsey Mitchell gets more open looks, and the post players get easy layups. But when they are forced to run set plays in a cramped half-court, the entire offense collapses. It is a tragedy of basketball errors. Michael Thompson warned that if the Fever actually do trade her, their attendance will plummet instantly. They might get a good package of players in return, but the 8,000 or 9,000 fans who show up just to see Caitlin will disappear. Whitlock countered by saying that the organization does not seem to care about gate receipts as much as they care about controlling the narrative. This power struggle between a superstar and a front office is something we usually only see in the NBA, but Caitlin's impact is so massive that she has brought these high-stakes dramas to the WNBA. The fallout is real, and it is getting uglier with every game they lose in this restrictive system. There is also the issue of Caitlin's own development. Thompson noted that she still has areas to improve, like scoring more to her right and cutting down on careless turnovers. However, those improvements are much harder to make when she is playing in a system that makes her miserable. A player needs confidence and joy to refine their game, and right now Caitlin looks like she is just trying to survive the night. The pressure of being the face of the league is hard enough without your own team making the job harder. If she were in a place like Los Angeles, she would have the resources and veteran guidance to fix those flaws while still being allowed to be herself. Whitlock's final verdict was that the Indiana Fever have essentially committed basketball malpractice. They took a winning formula from the end of last season and threw it in the trash for no apparent reason. By changing coaching philosophy, they signaled that they cared more about their own ideas than their star players' success. This is a lesson for every professional sports team. When you have a generational talent, you build the system around them. Indiana failed that test, and now they are facing a fallout that could leave the franchise in ruins for years. The fans are already starting to vote with their remote controls. Ratings are tied directly to the exciting version of Caitlin Clark, and if the Fever continue to run a slower, less dynamic system, the casual audience will tune out. The league cannot afford for its biggest star to become ordinary. Whitlock's call for a trade is not just about Caitlin, it is about saving the momentum of the entire sport. As the trade rumors continue to swirl, the pressure on the Fever front office is reaching a breaking point. They can either admit they made a mistake and change their coaching philosophy, or prepare for the inevitable demand for an exit. Michael Thompson's insights as an insider give these rumors weight, as he understands how these situations unfold behind the scenes. Caitlin Clark has the power to change her destiny, but she has to be willing to use it. The narrative that she is being protected by the league is, according to this breakdown, a myth. In reality, she is being used for her fame while being denied the on-court respect other stars receive. This disconnect fuels the frustration seen every night. The referees and league office are not doing her any favors, and her own team is the biggest obstacle of all. Ultimately, this entire situation serves as a warning to the WNBA. You cannot treat a generational superstar like a standard employee. Caitlin Clark changed the economics of the league overnight, and she deserves an organization that respects that impact. Whether she ends up in Los Angeles or stays to fight in Indiana, the bridge between expectation and reality has clearly been strained. The clock is ticking on her time in Indiana, and the world is watching. The most dangerous situation for a superstar is being surrounded by people who do not understand their greatness. Indiana believes it can win its own way, even if it suppresses its best player. But history suggests the players always win in the end. If Caitlin Clark is unhappy, the system eventually fails, and the fans follow the star. Whitlock and Thompson have set the stage for a dramatic showdown that will keep the sports world talking. The future of Caitlin Clark will ultimately be defined by whether she has the courage to demand a system that fits her game.